Welcome back to Car Operation. Today, we're diving into a piece of classic British motoring history, the Bedford SJ1 truck, produced between 1962 and 1965. If you're a fan of vintage utility vehicles or you're just curious about the evolution of truck engineering, this is one vehicle you need to know about. The SJ the 1st of May not be the flashiest name out there, but it's a true workhorse that helped define mid-20th century transport across the UK and beyond. Let's start with the exterior. The Bedford SJ1 carried the typical utilitarian charm of early 60s British trucks. Its design wasn't meant to turn heads at a car show, but that's exactly why it's so interesting today. The SJ1 featured a strong, boxy silhouette with simple lines and robust steel construction. It had a two-door cab and a flatbed at the rear, making it a favorite for commercial use. The front end sported a horizontal chrome grille and round headlights set into square bezels, giving it a modest yet purposeful look. The SJ1 was built for work, not aesthetics, but there's something undeniably appealing about its old-school charm. Paint options were fairly basic, usually solid work-oriented colors like green, gray, blue, and white. The cab sat high on the chassis, giving the driver a commanding view of the road, which was practical for maneuvering loads. Its solid steel bumpers and simple steel wheels added to its ruggedness. While there was minimal ornamentation, the build quality was solid, and many units have survived decades of tough use, which says a lot about their durability. Now moving inside, the interior of the SJ1 was all function over form. It featured a no-frills cabin with a basic dashboard layout. The instrument panel housed essential gauges, speedometer, fuel gauge, temperature gauge, and that was about it. You won't find any luxury here. No air conditioning, no fancy audio systems, and definitely no touchscreens. The controls were mechanical, sturdy, and built to last. The seating was a simple bench-style design, typically vinyl-covered and capable of seating 2 to 3 people, depending on the variant. Comfort was minimal, but the seats were thick and durable enough to handle long workdays. The steering wheel was large and made of hard plastic or bakelite, typical of the era, and it required a fair amount of muscle to operate due to the lack of power steering. Sound insulation was practically non-existent, so drivers got the full symphony of engine noise, road rumble, and wind, something only true enthusiasts can appreciate today. Under the hood, the Bedford SJ1 was typically powered by a 2.6-liter inline-6 petrol engine, derived from the Vauxhall line, pushing out around 80 to 90 horsepower. It might not sound like much by today's standards, but it was more than adequate for light to medium-duty work back in the 60s. The engine was mated to a 4-speed manual gearbox, delivering power to the rear wheels. This combination provided decent torque for hauling and steady acceleration for city and rural roads alike. Performance-wise, the SJ1 wasn't built for speed, but for reliability and load-bearing. The suspension was leaf spring-based, which was typical for trucks of that era. It gave the truck the ability to handle weighty cargo without sagging, though ride comfort suffered, especially on rough roads. Braking was handled by drum brakes all around, which again was standard at the time, though it required a bit of caution with a full load. Fuel efficiency was moderate for the time, expect around 15 miles per gallon, depending on driving conditions and load. Maintenance was relatively straightforward. These trucks were built with accessibility in mind, and mechanics appreciated their simplicity and toughness. Parts can still be sourced today, though some components are becoming rarer and more expensive as the years go by. As for pricing, when new, the SJ1 was affordable for small businesses and local governments. Adjusted for today's value, that would translate to something around £12,000 to £15,000 depending on configuration. On the collector market today, a restored Bedford SJ1 can fetch anywhere from £8,000 to £20,000, depending on condition, originality, and historical value. Pristine examples are rare and becoming more valuable to vintage truck collectors across Europe and Australia. So that's the 1962 to 1965 Bedford SJ1, a rugged, dependable piece of British automotive history. It wasn't flashy, but it did its job, day in and day out, and earned the respect of everyone who relied on it. If you're restoring one or just admire classic work vehicles, the SJ1 is definitely worth a closer look. Thanks for watching Car Operation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed this review. We've got more vintage vehicles coming your way soon.